It's amazing. I think this is my first mosque. Never forget to look up. Don't line up an hour and a half for that because it's just not worth it. Hello from Turkey, Istanbul. So it is our first morning here. We arrived late last night and so we've got up bright and early to explore the city. So we have 24 hours in Istanbul and we're going to squeeze everything in. Obviously the first thing on our agenda is the Blue Mosque, which is why I have my headscarf ready to go and be full Princess Jasmine. However, it's Friday so the Blue Mosque doesn't open until 2:30. So we're going to go explore the city, might find a bazaar, some street food, who knows. To the Hagia Sophia, which is a museum for a mosque that started as a church and then it was a church for 600 years and then it was a mosque for 900 years I think it was. So there's bits of different religions melding into one. You can see a little Christ statue, then lots of Arabic everywhere. It's amazing. I think this is my first mosque. It is in the main square just across from the Blue Mosque, so very easy to get to. It cost £10 to enter, so 15 USD. It is well worth it. They let you walk around, take as many photos and that as you want, which is obviously a plus for me. If you were at all worried about Turkey and like the conservativeness, you don't need to cover your head for this one. You do for the Blue Mosque, but not this one because I think it's a museum, not a functioning mosque anymore. But it is crazy, crazy cool. First mosque. Never forget to look up. That's the like number one rule of any travel, because I feel like Europe, you've always got to look up. Turkey, you always look up. Hagia Sophia, it was amazing, and we have headed to Topkapi, which is like the palace museum. Quite similar in terms of like the layout compared to the palace in Prague, which is what we went to. So it's this big palace ground and there's different rooms you can go into each different thing. So there's a clock room, there's a harem, there's worship places, so you can spend as much or as little time as you want. You can pick and choose where you want to go into, and it's been a really good like use of our time, considering we can't go to the Blue Mosque yet, so we can still see all the culture here. And I feel like we're saving the best of last for that. So we've only done the clock tower and the clock room and the gold worship rooms, so we're going to explore the rest. We have finished up at the palace. We went to the armory, which I wasn't allowed to film, but I did do some sneaky filming, so I'll put that on top here. But it was very cool. Some massive swords, all of the weapons were very intricate and like decorative, which was amazing. I don't think I've ever seen that. Definitely some of the best artwork on weapons I've ever seen. It's crazy. In fact, all of the buildings here are just absolutely stunning. They're like crazy beautiful with like their artwork and their tiles. But by far the best thing we did here, which once again couldn't film, so you should definitely come here, is that they have a mosque that's opened up into like a museum, and inside it they have religious artifacts, so they of Christianity as well as Islam, because they kind of melt together a little bit. So they got like Moses' staff, Joseph's turban, a lot of Muhammad and Ali things, so like hair of Muhammad from his beard, footprint of Muhammad, and then yeah, so like all this stuff. Things I didn't even know they had in museums was here, so it was so cool, and culturally significant. Like, that's crazy. So also, Moses was very short. His stick was like too small for me, and I'm not a tall person. However, they also had the Sultan's clothing line, and they also had the crown jewels, but they were closed when I was here. So if you have been or you're going, please tweet and or DM me pictures of it, because that were the two things I really wanted to see and they were closed. So that means I just have to come back. But well worth it to see artifacts that are like 2,000 years old. Probably older, because Moses was before Jesus. Even older. That's crazy. Maybe been the highlight of the day so far, we'll see. But now we're going to get our stuff and we're going to head down, I think, to the Grand Bazaar, because it is still not open for the Blue Mosque. So we will get there eventually. So, an insider tip is that if you go to the Seven Hills Cafe, you come to the rooftop. They have a rooftop restaurant, and you get amazing views of the museum and then also the Blue Mosque. And they're beautiful, stunning, and the weather's amazing, and it's like free entry to come up here. I personally would stay for a meal if it was a meal time. It's kind of the morning, but yeah. If it's your last night, this is a great spot. We have made it to the Blue Mosque finally. We lined up as soon as it opened, and the queue got insane. It's going to be like an hour to an hour and a half wait for everybody else. It only took us 20 minutes, which isn't bad at all. It is currently under renovations, which has been under since 2017, so I kind of knew coming in that that's what it was going to be. So unfortunately it does take away from it a bit, but it's still very cool, so you just use your imagination a bit more. But it's really cool to see one like in practice with people actually praying here. So yeah, we're going to go explore. So we are finished at the Blue Mosque. I know I was saying save best to last, but I actually don't think that was the best, just because of the scaffolding. It did take away from it a fair bit, because only about 30% of the actual mosque roof was visible, which if you're going to pray, it's completely fine to pray in, but if you're going for like architecture, touristiness, it is a little anticlimactic. So we ended up lining up, like I said, 20 minutes, which was completely fine. I think it paid off, and it's free to enter. However, if you were at the back of the line and you waited an hour, hour and a half, I do not think it's worth it. So take that with what you will. Don't line up an hour and a half for that, because it's just not worth it. You could go and see the first one we went to today. What was that? The Hagia Sophia this morning was so much more impactful and immersive. So you could, and that one I don't pay cost money to go to, but it's much better than this if you have to choose. So just because it says Blue Mosque, don't come for the name. So now we're going to go and explore Sultanahmet. We might go via the room and get it. I might do a costume change, because I'm very hot in my conservative wear, but we'll see. So if I change costume, that's why. But off to Sultanahmet.
Come on, man.
So all of our shopping, because number one, I don't want to carry it all day because you're going in and out of museums and they're doing bag checks all the time. And number two, when we came earlier this day before we ate, it was prayer time, so stuff was closed. The bazaar is actually open till 11 p.m, so we're hoping that it's going off at night time. So we're gonna shop around here, maybe grab something to eat, and yeah, I'll keep you updated. But the bazaar is awesome, and it has like everything you could ever want, from like jewelry, kitchenware, clothes, bags, shoes, everything. So we're gonna see what we can find. So we have finished at the bazaar. I'm going to go through everything I bought and like all my tips and tricks, because there were many things I learned from the experience, which I had known beforehand. But I am at a restaurant, which is not the best time to be pulling out all my shopping and telling you everything. So we're actually at that Seven Hills, isn't it? Seven Hills? Yeah, Seven Hills Cafe that we came to earlier for the view. So we thought we'll come here for a view for dinner, which is absolutely amazing. So we're so full from that lunch we had that we've literally just done like tapas, got dips and bread, and then we're going to get some baklava for dessert. So we're going to eat all this, and then I will see you later to tell you all about my shopping exploits. Time for our final round of food, and we have had some baklava, which we had when we were in Greece, and I know it's technically not a Turkish food, but it's close enough, right? So I don't care.
They're proud their own baklava.
They've got their own version, I'm sure. It'd be irresponsible not to try it. It's so much better fresh.
Is it fresh?
Oh yeah, that was a positive thing. I did. I was like, it's so good. No, it's amazing. It's really good. I just love baklava. It's such a sweet tooth. We're back in a hotel room, so I thought I would quickly go through the Grand Bazaar experience and also what we bought. I'll start with what we bought because that's more exciting. Firstly, what Daniel bought, because it's boring. He bought a shirt. Daniel likes to collect t-shirts from when we were traveling because it's like a practical souvenir. So Daniel got this one, which is the Ottoman Empire symbol, I think, with the Saudi Arabia flag and the Turkish 10 USD, so quite cheap for the t-shirt economy, of which we know a lot about because Daniel buys t-shirts everywhere. I bought an Ottoman. It does look very tan and black. It is actually a navy blue. It's just this light makes it look tan. It makes it look navy blue, so it's a navy blue and a grey. Really, really happy. Didn't think I'd find this. Wanted to get one when I was in Turkey, when I was going to go to Morocco, but the Ottoman Empire was in Turkey, so it makes sense to have an Ottoman cover from there. One of the things I wanted the most when I knew I was coming to Turkey was a backpack in the Turkish pattern. So I was going around, I was looking at all these backpacks and they were so expensive. They were like 70 Australian dollars. And so I found this one on the outside of the bazaar, not quite inside. And this one, 250 lira, and I ended up getting it for 160 lira. So really good bartering on my part. Super happy with it. Definitely don't think it's worth $100, but for $30, yes, very much worth it. So I look super cute getting on my plane now, and everyone will know I'm like #cultured. Now, in terms of what I wish I'd known before going to the bazaar, not as cheap as you would think, as per my bartering. It's still cheap, don't get me wrong, but as someone who's been to, you know, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, a few of the like cheaper places on the spectrum, it's not as cheap as you would think compared to the price of like a hotel room like this. So we're staying in a place, it's in the center of town, and it is £45 a night, so £80 for the whole time we're here. So that's crazy cheap. And then you compare to like some of the food we had today was a bit more pricey. Our lunch was like $50. I know I go between a lot of currencies, keep up, I have to, so now you have to. So like £25 for lunch, which was like quite dear for lunch. And then like obviously $100 to $200 for these backpacks. I was like, no way. And there is a lot of jewelry in there, which I can only assume would be the same. So definitely keep that in mind when you're shopping. That said, there is a lot of stuff in there and it is very good quality, so it's probably why the price is a bit higher, is it's not that cheap, nasty, souvenir-y stuff. It is like proper made in Turkey quality goods, so it does drive the price up as well. When we went during prayer time, it's still open, you can still shop around, but they'll like a lot of the men will line up and do their prayers in the place, which is fine obviously, but sometimes it's a bit scary if you're walking down a corridor and you turn and there's a man standing there. Obviously he doesn't mean to, but it's just a jump scare. And then also when we went, it says open from 6 till 11. I argue that is not accurate, because we left at about 6:30, 7, and it was starting to shut down. A lot of the vendors were closing, so if you were planning to go at like 9 o'clock at night, I imagine it would be very quiet. So definitely make sure you plan the right times to go in the middle of the day. Don't leave it till last, like we did. So that is the end of the first video in my Turkey series, which is the 24 hours in Istanbul. Hopefully I've given you some ideas of things to do when you're in Istanbul. And I definitely think you can definitely do it in one day if you wanted to. 2 days, you could definitely fill up, but realistically, I don't think you need more than 2 days. Tomorrow, we are making our way into the middle, and we're actually crossing the border of Turkey into Asia, so we're heading to a new continent, technically. And we're going to be doing some archaeological sites as well as a lot of travel. We're doing 3 different modes of travel tomorrow to be super cheap, so if you want to know the cheapest ways to get around Turkey, make sure you hit subscribe so you can see that video, and I will see you next time. Bye.